What's up, guys? Welcome to episode, I think, 128 of the Always Race Day podcast presented by the Karl Auto Group. I'm here with Caleb Sloha, Josh Olmstead, as well as Noah Nilsson. No Damon on the show tonight. Basically, his reasoning is he hung out with me too much on Saturday. Didn't want to put up with me for more than he has to. So we gave him the night off, but plenty to talk about. Wild, crazy, chaotic weekend with Knoxville and what happened there. We'll get into Carson Macedo and his accident there, as well as Jonathan Davenport winning the Dream in that racetrack, rubbering up halfway through. And we got a good old-fashioned ass-kicking from Martin Truex Jr. I feel like I can say that. We'll debate it in the back end of the show. Dirt first, NASCAR after that. We'll get to all of it. But first, we got to thank our partners at the Karl Auto Group for sponsoring us. They are our full year, full-time, all-around partner for alwaysraceday.com. All the coverage you see, they are a major piece to why you're seeing it and how you're seeing it. So give them a shout out on social media if you can. And I promise I'll have a fun, different type of ad read on Wednesday. So we'll get to that when the bridges cross there. So you guys ready to get this thing started up?
Yeah.
No, we gotta wait like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We're just gonna put on some hold music and everybody can just wait for a moment.
Let's put on some country, put on some all the bands you'll see at Iowa Speedway for the IndyCar race there, something like that. No, but I was with Damon and Josh Gerlich, our guy. Over the weekend, we covered the World of Outlaws weekend at Knoxville. Damon just came on Saturday, but kind of a team effort deal. We were getting to as many drivers as we could Saturday night. I hope you guys enjoyed how many people we were able to get around to. But above all else, we got to talk about the race and the big incident of what happened. Really quick, David Gravel takes the win. He closes in on Brad Sweet's points lead, just 14 points back now in the standings. So good night for him. He ran 10th on Friday, and he said it in victory lane. He's like, we run 10th at Knoxville one time, and everyone thinks we suck. But turns around, gets the win. And in that 12-lap stint at the end, he was not pressured at all. He was insanely fast. Brian Brown, much like Brian Brown on Friday, was extremely fast. No one was catching him on Friday night. So just goes to show you every night at Knoxville is different. Every time those guys hit the track, you know who's good, but sometimes guys rise to the occasion more than others or at different times than others. So aside from that, and also before I forget, and make sure we mention it, Garrett Williamson, career night, first World of Outlaws podium, wins the 360 race. That's his first career 360 win at Knoxville. He won at Houston's a couple weeks ago. So that kid's been fast as hell lately. I'm very impressed with him. And memorable name because he's only got one R and one T in Garrett. So every time I type out his name, I got to go back and fix it because I don't know, won't go through my head. But
so I know how that goes. So we've got at Hawkeye Downs, we've got a guy I work with that's Corey, just regular spelled Corey, and then we also have Corey that's just Cory.
Yeah. And wait, whoa! Which one's the regular?
Like the regular is Corey.
No, it's not.
Okay, that's how
have you ever heard of Corey in the house?
Okay, well, I guess
how did he spell it?
I've seen more Corys with the EY than anything else. So, but then the problem is autocorrect always, when I'm trying to, talk to the other Corey, it always spells out Corey. So
that might be a red hot debate. Oh, Damon's joining. Hold on.
We can say pretty comfortably though. At least there's no I's in it.
Right.
Maybe.
Corey ending in an I.
Yeah, exactly.
Damon, we're recording already.
I couldn't tell.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Jeez. I've gotten up to. I haven't talked about Macedo's crash yet. That's what we're about to talk about. So glad you're joining us for it. Real quick, how would you spell? This is not about the tweet you sent or anything like that. How would you say you would regularly spell the name Corey?
Depends on if it's a guy or a girl.
Guy.
Then it would be Corey.
I don't. Just one of those things you thought like.
I've my whole life I thought the regular version of Corey was Cory, Corey in the House from Disney Channel.
Yeah, I don't know. Every Corey I've ever known though has had an E in it. So
that's what I'm saying.
Except for Corey Eliason.
That was
the only one. That's not how this came up, by the way. Caleb just said the regular, and I'm just.
He's one of two Coreys. He's one of two Coreys that I know that has no E in it.
Was Corey Hedgecock involved in that one?
No.
Okay, it's 3 then.
Oh my God! All right. Anywho, the Macedo accident. So I want to know, like, is it very often, especially on those cars, do we see cars just shoot to the right like that? I mean, that is crazy.
I wouldn't say it is in terms of if you put like the 10 worst looking wrecks of the year in like a montage or something. I wouldn't say it's that uncommon when it shoots to the right like that. So if you weren't in Knoxville, haven't seen a replay of the wreck, Carson Macedo was really making a lot of ground on David Gravel in the lead, and from second place he I don't think he hit a rut or anything. I think it was mainly the car broke, but shot up to the right, hits the wall, goes for a couple of flips. At some point, the fire suppression bottle or fire suppression system, that the system itself or the bottle, I don't know if it's that basic. So if I say something wrong, let me know, and I'll talk about it on Wednesday too if we need to correct something. But from what I know, apparently that bottle fell off the race car. That bottle is mandatory. Where you mount it is not. So wherever they mounted it, it fell off. And so that kind of hurts you when trying to put out that fire. The tail tank hit near the end of the flipping. So there's a bunch of fuel coming out, big ball of fire. And Carson Macedo was knocked out when his car came to a rest. So, on top of the car being on fire and everything inside and around it, we had 3 other drivers, Gio Selzy, Spencer Baston, and Brad Sweet, all kind of put their lives on the line and tried to help Carson get out of the car, as well as the Knoxville safety crew. I sent a couple tweets at the end of the night, and someone was ticked off for whatever reason that I didn't mention the safety crew. I kind of thought it was, kind of figured you would say, yeah, I'm thankful for them as well, but just in case anybody. So they get in, they managed to finally get the fire out. It just kept burning. Every time it was close to being put out completely, it would kind of reignite a little bit again because of how much fuel is there. And eventually they got Carson out of the car. They had to cut his safety belts off, and he walked with assistance to the ambulance, and he walked out of the hospital without assistance today on Sunday morning, very early on Sunday morning. So very thankful he's okay, but lots to dissect in that wreck around what we're doing. I know from talking to some drivers, I won't name anybody, but a lot of people asking for some extra practice with situations like that and stuff. So I think I've got every angle there on just if you didn't hear it or if you didn't see it and want to know what's going on. I think I recapped it for you. All right. Do you guys fill in the gaps anywhere, or we can start talking about it either way?
I'm curious if is it an actual suppression system that they have in those cars, or is it because I know at our track, we're technically required to have an extinguisher in our cars. So I would have an extinguisher in my car, but I can tell you, if my car's on fire, I'm not grabbing the fire extinguisher. I'm trying to get out of there. And especially if you get knocked unconscious, or there's not a whole lot of rules where like if that extinguisher gets misplaced while you're flipping or, wrecking hard or whatever, like it. So, I mean, I guess I'd be curious. I can't imagine that those cars would have an actual suppression system. My guess is that,
They're extinguisher bottles. I mean, it's like
yeah.
any other race car. It's an extinguisher bottle more than a
So,
suppression system.
Yeah,
Now, I will say, a lot of them. I know they do. They have this in NHRA, like in the nitro cars. I can't say this for sure about sprint cars, but if it gets to a certain point, the bottles will go off themselves.
Gotcha. And that's more of like the suppression. Yeah, because that's essentially like what some of those other systems have in like the professional racing series is, yeah, once there gets to be enough smoke or a certain temperature, they just go off themselves. Much like what you'll find in a business, and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, that's why I was just curious, because I couldn't imagine that they would have a full suppression net, and whether the bottle falls out onto the track or if you're unconscious, I mean, it just is unhelpful at that point. So yeah, that's definitely where like it's hard. I mean, with the safety crew, every situation is so different, and the way things happen is so different, and all that. Like, you can always say that they could be better in every situation, but I'm very glad he's okay. It was crazy to see that car just go straight right. And of course at Knoxville, like there's not a whole lot of room before you're hitting that wall. So it's pretty quick coming up on him.
Well, especially where he was already riding the top anyway. I mean, the lap before that, he was probably within 2 car lengths of gravel up front when they went by us in 3 and 4. The lap before that, gravel got a good runoff too. They were right in the middle of lap traffic, and so that's what separated them a little bit going down the backstretch and into 3. But I think to answer your first question about it going straight right, I don't know if I don't know for a fact, but the way that axle came back, it looked like something had to have broken prior to the flip.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a driver error or just a bad ride. I don't think it was
the
a
car
track
went
thing
by.
either.
The car went by on the hook right beside where I was standing, and I mean the tire was bent upon itself.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
when he flipped, the front end came down so hard that it screwed up anything you were going to look at in the axle. That might tell you.
But it definitely,
the
I mean,
hard right hook was something broke on the car before.
Yeah.
It went right.
That, I mean, it looked like it was like when you're on asphalt and it's a flat tire or something, like I mean, that thing just went. So
Yeah.
I will say, and thankfully he's okay, and I feel more comfortable saying that. And also, like, a lot of people have given me compliments on my coverage, and as well as Damon and Josh and the help they gave, and everyone as a whole. So I do truly appreciate. I think we can say it for all of us that we all truly appreciate that. And thank you. There was some negative comments. There's always going to be some negative comments. Obviously, we're just trying to do our best. So never want to overstep, do something that people might not want to hear. Just trying to do our best to tell full, complete, and honest stories. Basically the only thing we can do, right? So actually, I forgot what I was going after. Damon, what was I going to say?
I don't know. Noah, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, just the fact that that's one of the worst case scenario kind of accidents, and he's able to be okay.
Yes, that's good news.
That's excellent news, and that's great. Just that we can be that safe in an accident, as scary as that. All things
and I think there's still safety concerns from it, and we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, absolutely.
I do think a lot of the drivers' big thing, just talking to the different ones that we did afterwards, a lot of it isn't like upset or or angered at the procedures. It's more or less wanting to just re-up. You can never have too many practices at doing something like that, and you can never have too many tools. I think that's the big thing too. Is we're in southern Iowa. Somebody had to have a pocket knife, so you want to make sure you got some cutters and some different things like that. But it's always trying to find how to make everything better, and I think that's what the drivers were more entailing versus being upset at the situation. They're just, how do we make this better so the next time a situation like this happens, God help us that it doesn't anytime soon, that we can be a little bit better equipped.
Right. And that's what I was gonna say. It dawned on me again, but the hooking right like that, it almost looked more intense than Jake Newman's wreck at that high limit race. It looked like a similar type of accident, but the car snapped right. And if there's a way to not rectify, but improve how the car settles after that kind of aspect, or front end of the car breaks like that, I hope we could find it, but I just don't know if that's possible.
So
Go ahead.
let me ask, because I was trying to look a little bit and I couldn't really see much. What was the hospital trip just for further evaluation, or did they announce the
Well-
extent of what they were looking at?
So, pretty much engulfed in flames, almost the entire cockpit, and that's why. And please go buy a Carson Macedo shirt, or a Gio Selzy shirt, or a Brad Sweet shirt, or a Spencer Basin shirt, because the balls it takes and the mindset and wherewithal it takes to try and get your friend or competitor, but I think for all of them it goes both ways there, out of that car in that situation is just insanely brave. So big shout out to those guys. But what was your question, Josh? I'm doing this again where I'm trying not to say the wrong thing and I'm not thinking about what I need to say.
Josh, I'll tell it this way. A lot of it for the hospital thing was because of the fire. Initially, he was on his way to Iowa City for burn coverage, and then they called that off, luckily, and ended up just taking him to the local hospital there in Knoxville for him to stay throughout the evening or throughout the night to evaluate, do some tests, things like that. So originally it was for the burns, but then it was for evaluation, is why they
Okay.
to Knoxville.
Yeah,
So-
I just kind of wanted to know, because obviously we were talking about the safety aspect, so I wanted to know whether it was like something in the car that failed safety wise, or it was due to the fire.
Well, so the suppression bottle is supposed to heat up, and once it catches heat, then it will release the extinguishing stuff. I still think they would have needed more extinguishers to put out that fire. The fact of the matter is, it's really hard to make a fuel tank, tail tank, essentially, that's more durable. If that was like an option, I guarantee it would have been implemented already. So it's just a case of, you really, the car landed directly on it, it destroyed it, and then it landed right side up. And that was probably like, I don't know if that's the worst case scenario, but it wasn't a good one, right? So
I will add to this too, when he hit and was flipping, he was knocked out when he landed on all fours. I think the best case scenario in that whole deal was the fact that he did land on all fours, because if he's on his roof in fire, we're in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
I lost my breath
That's a
standing
good point.
watching it. I've watched Top Fuel dragsters split in half. I've seen a lot of bad stuff. I mean, I was at St. Louis where Noah Gregson basically ran through the wall in turn one, and that Saturday was probably the scariest incident I have ever been a part of in person.
So I've got CPR, first aid training, stuff like that. So I don't have, I'm no medical expert, but the things they would definitely be concerned about, of course, being knocked out in that hard of an impact. They're going to want to run tests. They're going to want to check them out. There's most likely a concussion with that, so that on top of then too any burns that you would have, and smoke inhalation is going to be a big thing too. So especially as late of a night that happens, I mean, a lot of times you're with the severity of what he had going on and how late of a night it was already and everything like that, they weren't going to just be like, well, you look good, have a great night. Like they were, that's something that those three things are pretty concerning, that it would have just been best for them to just monitor him, test him, get him checked out and everything like that.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any, Knoxville's hospital has handled sprint car drivers after wrecks before. So that's probably a good place to go. And obviously, getting a flight to Iowa City is still a substantial process. So it was good that that was canceled and that never had to be used. So overall, like super lucky, super gracious that Carson's all in all right. And yeah, hopefully you guys got to enjoy the race still. It was a scary ass wreck. So
Yeah, like I said, it was probably, I would say it is the scariest thing. When you're sitting there in real time, and I told Connor and Josh this last night after we had found or was watching the video that came out with it after we found out he was okay, was the fact that it felt a lot longer than the video actually portrayed. Like the length of time that car was on fire, it just felt a lot longer. When you see Brad Sweet dive head first into an engulfed cockpit, that was something that I'll not ever forget. And then him coming out of there screaming was the other thing. When he's screaming Carson's name, screaming for workers to get there, like it was just wild, man.
And so the reason that that I put out that tweet after I talked to Casey Kane at all was because there's people that were trying to take a side between the Knoxville fire crew and Brad Sweet about why Brad was yelling as if he was yelling at him. I put out another tweet that said he might have been yelling at him. I got there at the tail end of it, and I said, I don't want to speculate, so don't take that. Don't say, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that could have been what it was, but it was Brad yelling. So all these people are taking sides, and I had ran into Casey, and I just asked, and he said he was yelling Carson's name because he was knocked out. So I put that out to clarify that, because basically the Knoxville fire crew does not need 70 people on Twitter to tweet them and tell them that they suck, did a bad job, weren't fast enough, or were stupid because none of them were carrying box cutters or a knife. The only thing you can do is get better for next time. They don't need 80,000 people tweeting at them negative shit. So I'll fall on whatever bullet with that tweet if you don't like it. We're just trying to do our best job. And at this point in the weekend, I really don't care. Quite, like, to be honest. So I was driving home on Saturday night, like thinking like, okay, if Carson had come on the podcast and then 6 days later got in a wreck and God forbid was hurt for months on end, or, didn't make it through in any capacity, then I would, not even like it's our fault or anything, it would just be really hard to do any other interviews with drivers. I don't know if I could do that. So I hope I never have to conquer that fear or anything like that, but it's fucked up shit. So bitch at me if you want. I'm just going to bitch at you back, quite frankly.
Caleb, go ahead.
What?
No, Caleb was just laughing. I'm just like done caring about. I think we did a fantastic job. I don't think
it's hard. There's a specific way you have to go about it, because like it's our business to report and do that, but like we're all still human, and like that's a very large part of it. And there's a lot of people out there on social media that like don't care about the human aspect of it and like really have no sensitivity or soul. So it's like we're gonna just do it the way we're gonna do it and the way that we see best to cover it. Because there's still human lives that we're playing with, and some people just don't realize that. So
Yeah, I agree, and I was telling Damon and Josh this. Like, I will never judge somebody or put blame on somebody for how they react in crisis. That's something I'm not in the business of doing, and I hate the people that do. But I understand it because they're also in crisis and they're also in this chaotic moment, and they're engulfed with that. So I don't want to cast blame on anybody there. But if you're tweeting me Sunday night about how dumb I am or something like that, at this point, I'm very far over it, and my buddy Carson's okay. So I'm very happy about that. And I might just say something to you. That sounded way like more intimidating than I needed it to be. What I'm trying to say, I'm just over the negative shit. Like, we're past it. Carson's
Right.
okay. We can all rejoice. I hope he races this week in Wisconsin. I'm thinking about going up to that race. If you guys want to see me at that race, tweet Chris M. Williams. Say we want Connor to go to Wisconsin. No, don't do that. What's that, Damon?
Good idea.
I'm thinking about it. It's 5.5 hours. I'd have
Twitter
to
campaign.
Oh, the Twitter thing.
Oh,
Shit, if you go, I'm saying the Twitter thing.
I give a shit if I go. It'll be a good story to chase right before Houston's too. So I'm thinking about it. We'll see. I'll probably make the decision on Monday. So if you want to tweet Chris. I don't.
One of the few great ideas Connor's had.
Hold on, let me stop you there. Connor's got some bangers.
Thank you, Noah. I appreciate you.
Suck up.
Yeah, I was just telling Damon about the NHRA 1/8 Nationals that I want to put on at Eddyville as like the 17th big race I promote in my life.
This will be Noah Nelson's last episode on the podcast.
Noah, go back to the mute button.
They just don't want to see me get ahead in this sport, guys. I'll tell you what.
We don't want to see you get ahead.
Yeah, even my own teams hold me back.
Sentence.
1 step forward, 20 steps
Talking
back.
about Eldora.
Yep. Dream weekend. Jonathan Davenport ends up in victory lane. So like last 4 years, guy has won almost everything at Eldora. He's got that car. It's a rocket there. I don't know how. It's not a rocket. It's a Longhorn chassis. It's a spaceship. There we go. It's an Indy car at Eldora. How about that? I'm just saying it's fast, Damon. It's Antron Brown levels of fast at Eldora Speedway.
Don't come at me.
Yeah. 8 Crown Jewel wins for Jonathan Davenport in his career at Eldora. We should start. I want to start calling them majors. They're all at the same track, though. I don't know.
It's still majors. It's still a big race.
Yeah.
It's still big money.
Yeah, absolutely. Very impressive out of him. I don't think anyone doubted that he could do it. And, able to hold off Chris Madden, but big butt here. Track took rubber before the halfway mark. And supposedly, I haven't watched the entire broadcast yet. I watched some of it. To be quite honest, I was texting with Bobby Pierce, and he got passed for the lead by Davenport 30 laps in. And then my mind went somewhere else because I wasn't watching him rip it in the lead anymore. So I didn't see much after that. And everything with Carson happened like right as that race started. So I haven't gotten to see the full broadcast of it yet. But if they didn't work on the track before a Crown Jewel race, and it took rubber before the halfway mark of your 100-lap dirt race, I don't really see how in the hell this track has 3 Crown Jewels in dirt late model racing. Go ahead, Damon.
You just said it, though. You just said it. 100-lap dirt race.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to take rubber, hell or high water, whether they work it over or not. You can only.
So what did Carson say on the show last week? Said the best races are when it takes rubber at the very end.
Right. But when you work it throughout the day, if it is rubbering in as they run the heat races, as they run the B's and C's, right? If it's rubbering in then, and then you go rework it, you've just lost the progress that you made, and it's easier to re-rubber after a work-in than it is at the beginning of the day.
What's crazy is there's a very easy fix to this when it comes to running a race at the end of a 3-day format.
Here we go.
Very easy fix, in fact.
What?
What is that?
You're qualifying for due days. I don't care what format you use, give them points. I liked the format this weekend, honestly, in terms of what product it got us by the end of the week. I like that aspect. But we still ran 6 heat races on Saturday, and we still ran 2 B mains after that. So run for your points on Thursday, run for the points on Friday. Take points from every timing session besides hot laps, right? I think we can all agree there. If you want to use an invert, at least there you're using it in a spot where everyone's getting points for where they finish and stuff. I would approve of an invert there. You can use your dinky little wheel too. You can you can spin around like little Price is Right pigeons. What was I? What?
Can I say this?
Sheeple was what I was going to say. Hold on. Lock in 16, 20 to the A, whatever. Run 4 B mains, top 2 from each one transfer. I just gave you less laps on the track on Saturday, less races that you have to run on Saturday, and less chance that you're going to rubber up in the A main of one of your top 3 biggest races of the year. I don't see how hard that is. I don't see why we have to use this wheel. I don't see how we have no idea where everyone is sitting in a situational matter until the very end of Friday night, and then you still have to run 6 heat races. By the end of the 100 lap feature, you're there for 6 hours. And the only thing we care about pretty much is the A main, because that drums up all the storylines. The heat races were fine. They're, heat races are heat races. You're setting a lineup for something else, though. Like Brandon Overton not making the race, yeah, that was a shocker. That was a big moment. I agree. But you run less races, you're going to have less of a chance at rubbering up, and then you don't even have to do 45 minutes of track work to get it ready for the feature. Go ahead, Damon.
Damon looks over it.
Yeah, I mean, he hears me complain about the Eldora thing a lot. We got some good ideas in the works for this summer.
Not every race is the Knoxville Nationals.
I'm not saying it is.
But you want every format for major event to be set up the exact same way.
How in the hell is running 4 B mains like the Knoxville Nationals?
Take the B mains out of it. You want everything to set up for just the A main.
No, like my objective, I can think of a completely different format on the spot right now that would do the same thing and get you to Saturday with less races on the track, less laps on the track, because you're running 24 cars for 100 of them. So it's going to be really hard for it to not rubber up anyways. But they're hell-bent on this wheel and having literally 6 heat races the day of the big race.
All right, I'll let you.
No, I'm just saying, like,
I can't rationalize with you.
All right. Well, rationalize with me.
I'm trying.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try to build our relationship, and we're gonna try to build a Golden Gate Bridge to the top in the middle. Okay. So I don't want the track to rubber before halfway.
I agree. Nobody does.
What steps? Give me the first step you would take.
You can't control the weather.
I didn't say I could.
If it's hot out there, which it was, dirt dries up faster in the sun, right?
Isn't Eldora known for like being one of the better prep tracks typically?
Yes.
Like
kind of. I mean, well, look at last year. They brought in new dirt on the racetrack, and everyone hated it so much that 2 days before they were racing for $1 million, they took it out and raced on the old dirt.
Right. They took it out because everybody hated it. So they did the right thing.
Right. Okay.
That's
fine.
from my knowledge, Eldora is typically pretty good at. Listen, you can't hit on it every single time. So that's just.
No,
But
I get it. But if you're wanting it to not rubber up and you're wanting to hit on it every single time, the first step I would take is having less races on the day of the big race.
You just said that I get it, and then proceeded to say, well, if you want to do it, you have to do it. Like, okay, they missed.
Now you're talking in entendres because I have no clue what you just said.
No, you literally, he just said you're not going to hit it every time. And then you said, I get that, but if you want to hit it every time, like you just said.
Well, you do want to hit it every time, do you not?
You just,
well,
And
yeah,
I
but
think
there's
it's insulting to drivers to have a massive race and have rubber before the halfway mark.
no, you just said, I get it. And then you're like, then you followed up with a statement saying that you didn't get it.
But the whole point though is like it wasn't like they just all sat down and went, well, we'll just see what happens here. I mean, there was obviously like that they were trying, and they've got a history of being able to succeed in that format. So I think, yeah, it sucks that it happened like that, but like I don't feel like we need to overhaul the entire weekend because this one time it wasn't great.
No, and I'm not trying to say that. My beef is with a format that can drastically change where how you do on in a certain session would be really good if you ran really fast in that session, unless the wheel actually spins to this other number instead of this number on Friday. And then you might have screwed yourself there and ended up with a sixth place starting spot instead of a top three. You know, there's just different things. I like consistency with knowing where, you know, running fast at this point is going to get you. I don't like to their point, they eliminated this with how many twists and turns their format had this weekend, but I don't like the races where you can sandbag in qualifying and that would benefit you. I don't like when that happens. So to their credit, with what they did this weekend, that kind of rectified itself because there's too many points earning opportunities that you just had to get in the top 36, and that was where you needed to be, or top. I don't even know. I don't think 36 was the right number, but you had to get in the top echelon of the field to really be in a good spot going into the action on Saturday. So overall, I think it was way, way, way better than last year's format. Leaps and bounds better than last year's format, because that was a every lap from Wednesday does not matter format. This year's was titled Every Lap Matters. So I will give them props.
You also have to remember too, okay? Fans are paying big money to go to this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't just run 4 races.
Now, on the other side of things, and first, that format was, I had 5 races in there because there's 4 B mains and 1A. Just so you know,
I get it. Go ahead. Keep going.
So Chris Williams, big dirt late model fan. Some call him a casual. Not me right now. Maybe you, Damon. Are you calling him a casual because he took his family to the Show Me 100 last year? They were in town this season. They didn't go because of how long it takes.
I can't say yes or no to that. Everybody's got different preferences.
Okay, all right. Damon kind of calling Chris a casual, just a little bit there.
All right. I'm just going to leave it with this. You can't overhaul a format when it is, I think, created what is supposed to be a tough to win late model race. It is something that has gone on for years. It's been around longer than any of us have been alive. They've had different formats. They've had different paydays longer than any of us have been alive. And in my opinion, if you want a late model race, sometimes you're going to have a rubber down racetrack. That's just how these shows work with these heavy cars. That's how this goes.
I agree with everything. Sorry. Sorry, I thought you paused and you were done. You're fine.
The other thing on top of it is you don't want to have a rubber down track for your big show, but in the same token, it's supposed to be a hard race to win. It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said except for they've been doing it so long, so that's what's right to do, or that's what they should do, or so they know better than you. I don't agree with you've been doing it forever, so that makes you better. I just don't. But everything else, yeah, completely.
Said it in that sense.
No, I'm kind of speaking in generalities. But no, I'm saying like 95% of what you said. Yes. Are we good on the dream? Couple of quick hits with USAC. Logan Seavey ends up winning Indiana Midget Week. He becomes the third driver to win Indiana Midget Week and the Chili Bowl in the same season, joining Kyle Larson in 2020 and Rico Abreu, in 2015. So big shout out to Logan. He's been on a tear in the midget this year. I'm excited to see where he goes, what he does, if he goes or does anything with it in other series in the future. But you can't take it away from him. Dude is a very talented race car driver. So impressive stuff out of that. Last show, basically last segment of the episode for you guys, but last show we talked about how we kind of haven't seen a good ass kicking in a while, aside from Larson's in the All-Star race in NASCAR. But I believe that Martin Truex Jr. Delivered that at Sonoma today. I was curious to what you guys had to say about that.
Yes, I would agree.
Good talk.
No,
Yes.
you can tell Noah just took
Yeah.
a big mouthful of food and was like, I'm going to talk first here.
He literally unmuted too, so like I was gonna
I
say
was looking at Caleb like, all right, guys, don't do the mute system until we have a guest. But I do like it for when we have guests. I was telling Damon that last night.
I like
But-
it in general because that way you know that somebody has something to say, and then we're not like cutting each other off
Yeah.
as much. Because like in that
Right.
situation, we were all kind of waiting, and then Noah unmuted, so I was like, all right, he's gonna talk.
No,
Noah had
I-
6 noodles in his mouth.
I had something stuck in my throat when I went to go talk.
Hey,
I sat
yo.
waiting, and then
Yeah, bunch of noodles. For
Bunch
sure.
of noodles.
But anyway, no, I mean today was literally as old school as it gets. I mean, no cautions for the stage breaks, which I absolutely love and wish we would do everywhere, not just the road courses. And he led just about half the race. I mean, it's as old school as it gets. No gimmick, no nothing crazy happening. It was just the fastest car at the front. Yeah, it was everything you still want to see from a race. There were restarts, there was strategy. Fastest car won the race, which I mean that doesn't always happen, and it's not always the most quote unquote exciting thing. But I think it's good for the sport to just have some authentic old school racing, every once in a while. It kind of keeps things fresh.
yep, there was nothing fresher than the nap that I took watching the race today.
You probably felt real fresh afterwards.
Like,
That was the point. Yes.
Listen, man. I absolutely hate the caution for the stage, and it's not like you don't get more green flag racing. I mean, Fox was taking breaks at the stage anyway. They were taking breaks anywhere they could find them today. So
oh no, they were taking breaks everywhere they could find them, and then they were creating their own. It was
Yeah.
it was miserable again.
Yeah, it was almost fitting that we saw this broadcast from Fox in the same weekend we've seen all these DMs come up of Baby Gronk's father messaging media companies trying to get him to go viral because he's a 12-year-old kid that you're training or whatever. I don't even know how old.
he's not even 12, dude. He's 10.
Oh, it was my bad, Noah. Big misstep on my part there. Sorry to Baby Gronk's dad. Definitely just exploiting his kid and looks like a total dipshit.
Yes.
But so like that's all happening. It reminded me of the same thing. Like, yeah, you're trying to milk all your stuff out of it. In terms of Baby Gronk's dad trying to milk all the publicity he can out of it before people realize what the gimmick is. That's what Fox's commercial-filled broadcast today reminded me of. It was awful.
Here's the thing.
It was 15 laps in the race, and someone tweeted me, there's been 6 commercials already.
And here's the thing. So Josh and I are sitting here watching it, And like as we're watching it, we kind of say to each other like, okay, this is bad. And then our friend Quentin messaged us and was like, holy commercials. And then you go on Twitter and, Connor had responded to that guy that said it was bad. So, like, we haven't seen that the last couple weeks. I felt like it had been better. But I also feel like there's people in the industry that are like, oh, well, like one person says that it's bad. And then everybody else is like, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And like, it's clearly not.
There were no saving graces of the broadcast today. I can't think of one thing that I was like, oh, like they fucked up on this, but like at least this was good. Like, nah, dude, it was a complete disaster.
Do we still have like everybody? Because everybody else froze.
No, I'm good.
That's a you thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on you.
As long as everybody's still here. So the saving grace, actually, here's what I'm gonna say: bring Jamie McMurray back more often, please.
Yes, that's true. I love
Good
Jamie
breath of fresh
McMurray.
air. But we were 3 wide going into, I think it's turn 4, that hard right-hander. We were 3 wide, cut away from that to go on board with somebody who was riding along by themselves. And then we had a battle for the lead right on the back bumper, and we go to commercial. Like, it seriously feels like they just don't actually want to show. Anytime there was like good action on the track, they cut away or they go to commercial.
Someone also mentioned that after they cut away from the 3 wide, that there was laughing in the booth. That was picked up by the mics.
What happened? Sorry, I just coughed a lung up.
When they went down to the turn 3 wide and they cut away to an onboard of car by themselves, people were saying that they heard laughing from Mike Joy and them in the booth.
Yeah, they were probably laughing because they're like, we're sending you guys to commercial again, and you got to find a way to come off like the good guys while you're on our network where the production manager seems to have no brain cells left.
It's horrible. Like at one point,
they were lucky that Hamlin had an incident, because if they would have missed the only caution, they would have been bad.
They were the first caution. They were under commercial break. We had
that's what I'm saying. Like if they missed, like if that was the only caution that happened, and like Hamlin didn't have his incident, and they missed it because they were at commercial, it would have been even worse.
I know. You listen. You can't predict when that's going to happen. But we missed so many, like, when the leaders were on pit road and stuff like that. We missed so much of that today because, like, in the middle of when they knew, if between laps, I'm just going to make shit up, but if between laps 23 and 27, the majority of the field was going to come in, we would take a commercial break at lap 25 when, like, people were still making their pit stop. Like, it's just like they just really don't care. Like, they're just like, oh, there's fun stuff happening. Well, and you can't predict that a tire's going to, cause an issue and, go and cause a caution. But it's funny how many cautions we seem to miss because we're under commercial break.
It reminded me a lot of Daytona's broadcast, and I remember everybody bitching vehemently about the Daytona broadcast, missing action, missing, when the cautions would come out and so on and so forth.
Yeah, looking back on that, it's one of the worst Daytona 500 broadcasts I can remember in my lifetime. And the fact that it's even comparable to another race on the schedule, let alone already a race this year, is incredibly a deflating thought. And also, just in general, open opportunity for anyone at Fox if they want to come on here and justify how many commercials that they ran in the race today and why that is and why they make the decisions they do. Because I don't like criticizing people without giving them an opportunity. So,
and we've talked about it before, and I get, like, there has to be commercials and stuff like that. But you, like, explain to me, the last couple weeks have felt fine, and really nobody else has complained. And it's not like I got on Twitter and saw everybody else was complaining about commercials, so I was like, hey, yeah, you know what? This is bad. Like, everybody collectively was just like, wow, this is really bad today. So it's not us. Like, we're not just making stuff up because we feel like making stuff up. Like,
I would never call up a production manager of a TV station. They have a very hard job. I honestly believe that. But when I see enough questionable decisions being made and all coming to fruition on the broadcast and being like sufficiently less interested than any race I've watched all over the weekend because of how many commercials there were, then yeah, I'm compelled to say something because it looks freaking awful. You are getting your ass kicked by IndyCar's broadcast, by F1's broadcast. Johnny Gibson is running laps around Fox on his Dirt Vision stuff. I don't care if you don't like the sound of his voice. Dude's got it on lock. Fox,
And
thank God. Good riddance for Fox this year. And I didn't say that last year. I said everyone that complains about Fox is going to complain about NBC. No, this was a disastrous year for the company covering NASCAR. And I don't know if that matters, makes a difference, or should, but obviously I think it should. Go ahead, Caleb.
the thing is, it's almost, it feels like they walk into the race day and they say, okay, we're going to have commercials on lap 10, lap 16, lap whatever. It feels like they go into it with a piece of paper of when they're going to commercial.
Those hypothetical numbers are way too far apart, man.
I'm making stuff up.
We have 6 commercials we got to get in by lap 15. Come on, let's think about this. Let's objectively think here.
Like if on lap 9, Denny Hamlin stops his car on the backstretch, gets out and starts juggling, and then like Ryan Blaney gets out and does a backflip, like we're going to commercial. It doesn't matter that stuff's happening on the backstretch. It's lap 10. We're going to, like, that's literally how it feels. It is like they come into it predestined. This is when we're doing our commercial breaks, and kind of whatever's happening at that time, we're doing it anyway.
And I know a lot of people, as far as the stage breaks go, their big thing was, well, with the stage breaks, with the cautions for them, we don't miss as much green flag racing because, we go to commercial when the stage ends. And Daytona had stages and the broadcast was just as bad for missing green flag action and everything. I really am just taking this as an opportunity to.
We were told that it would lower. We were told that it would lower commercials by about 20%. But I feel like and the numbers showed earlier this year when they showed it on their face. We've got the same amount of commercials.
Yeah, it's comparable to times where you had just 0 to 200 there, figure it out. So obviously you're not fitting them in the same spaces that you should be fitting them in.
But here's the thing too, is we're literally, the stage ends. Not even all 10 of the guys who get points cross the line before we're going to commercial. Then we come back and we go, hey, these guys pitted. All right, we'll see ya. And then we go back to commercial. And then we come back and we go, all right, let's take a look at the Coca-Cola Racing family. And then we're going to look at the Toyota top performers. And then we're going to show you KFC on your screen. Like
it's always been like that to a degree, though. There have always been
just wait till we take an Always Race Day family of dirt drivers so that we can talk about not the race happening in front of us and just flashback.
That would be great.
I would actually do that if I had the money to do it. I would make them show Bobby Pierce highlights on like lap 33 of his 2016 season. Well, they were showing Truex with like 3 laps to go. I'm like, you guys could have done this anytime in the past 95 laps.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of them talking about Truex, poor Mike Joy. Somebody needed to correct him the first time you made the mistake, and they didn't.
What happened with Mike today? So, Mike has one moment during every race that just this season I've kind of noticed it where it just doesn't seem like he's all there. But other than that, and I do want to say this because I criticize the guy sometimes. Other than that, he's fantastic, and he falls on the sword for Fox. Like, he is a company guy, and he's doing his best to, make things right and tell you like it is and explain things to you. He does his best. It just sucks that they aren't giving him even a chance to come off like the good guy there.
Yeah, I've always absolutely loved Mike Joy. He and Alan Bestwick are my 2 all-time favorites as far as commentators go. So for those
I want
to
fight you for that comment.
We'll talk about that later, Josh. But as far as
get to that in 30 seconds, hurry up, Noah.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying. I keep getting cut off.
What'd you say?
So Truex, they were talking about Truex being 42. He's going to be the oldest winner at Sonoma since Tony Stewart did it at 45. And Mike Joyce said that Stewart dueled Truex that day, bumped him out of the way when it was actually Denny Hamlin. Not once, but twice. And then at the very end of the broadcast, Mike Joy was like, yeah, I've actually, been informed by our team that it was Denny Hamlin, not Martin Truex.
Noah just wanted to Rain Man Mike Joy. That's not even bad.
I
didn't question it. That's how I didn't notice it.
No, I did. I was like, no, it was Hamlin. It was definitely Hamlin. And then the second time I was like, why do you keep saying this? You were there. You commentated this, my brother in Christ. How do you know?
Okay, well, to his defense, do you know how many races he's commentated?
Yes, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. But if we're gonna bring it up as a notable moment,
Damon, you just sound like a platypus in that.
Yeah.
Your mic cut off. We can't hear you. The noises coming out of your microphone sound like a SOS system. Morse code.
Morse code. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Why did I say SOS system? Jeez.
SOS system.
Hey, there he is. He sounded.
There we go. You're good. You're good. What were you saying?
I was sounding normal before.
No, you weren't. You were speaking normal. The microphone was translating Morse code.
It's all normal. Yeah, Mike Joy has been calling races for a long ass time. I mean, when his first partner is Buddy Baker, what is that?
That's true.
Josh, where are you going to fight Noah?
Because no one stands near Lee Diffie.
Yeah, I agree.
I love Lee Diffie, but Alan Bestwick and Mike Joy, like my whole life.
You can see an argument for Alan Bestwick, but like, no, like Lee Diffie
does the announcing on the PA for Indy.
Alan Bestwick does a fantastic job for the Indy.
He does, yes.
Great.
This is going to come off like a little kid really likes ketchup and really likes ice cream, so he thinks he should put it together and try to have it for a snack. But my dream broadcast duo is Lee Diffie and Bill Walton.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, that dude. I think it would work. Lee Diffie is that good. He'd make it work.
If we're talking about like making each other better, if you put Mike Joy in the NBC booth with Letarte and Burton and Dale Jr., that's like all-star crew, and that would be nobody would say a whole hell of a lot of complaints about that group.
Can you imagine if NBC bought out Fox's part of the contract for NASCAR?
That was another thing that I wanted to bring up. We talk about all this stuff with Fox and how they're having all these issues and going all to commercial and things like that. Do you think that they're trying intentionally to put out a shittier product so they don't have to pay as much?
There could be some behind the scenes stat keeping and stuff like that, where they're trying to improve numbers for this deal that's coming up. Now, ethically, that'd be really stupid, and they haven't made themselves look better by doing it. So, I don't know if that's to get a better deal. I don't know if it. Everything happens for a reason, right? There's strategy behind everything if you truly believe intelligent people are in these positions, and they should be. So yeah, there's definitely a possibility there.
I think it's probably less of that and just more of they're coming to the end of the TV deal, and maybe they know in the back of their mind, like, we're maybe not going to pick it up, or that it's just kind of been an overall like deprioritization of NASCAR's coverage since they signed the last TV deal, because they put so many more races on FS1 and all that kind of stuff. Like they're talking about like Xfinity series going to streaming. We've kind of covered that in the last couple of weeks. And so
also just so everyone knows, don't cheer for that. Literally, I don't think there'd be something that could kill a series quicker than doing that.
Agreed.
Sorry, Damon, go ahead.
I was listening to, I didn't get to watch much of it on TV. I listened to it on PRN on the way home. And in the pre-race, they had talked to Adam Stern about the TV deals themselves. And he feels, or has been hearing, that both NBC and Fox are possibly having their number of races cut in lieu of some other third party stepping in.
And I've heard that too. I don't remember who it was that had said.
He said it, and I don't remember who it was.
Because
but he-
I heard that a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember. I was trying to think of that a little bit ago, but yeah, it almost sounded like they would be back to almost like doing thirds again.
Right.
But here's my thing. I do feel like Fox is trying. They've tried to do the
You feel like they're trying?
listen to me.
Okay.
Let me get my point out. In the past couple years, they've tried to do the in front of the crowd right away driver experience, getting their reactions out, right out of the car. They've tried to do that camera that flies down the backstretch. They've tried to do the drones. They've tried to do fun segments. Like, I feel like they're trying. I just feel like they don't have the group that understands race fans maybe enough.
Yeah, I can subscribe to a little of that.
Because
I like how you worded it. Honestly, I'm trying to come to a
because in my mind, they're not gonna try different things and spend the money on these different projects if they really didn't care. You know what I mean? So I feel like they do care, and I feel like they're trying. I just think they're sucking.
Well,
Yeah,
and some
and
of their content. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Connor.
No, you're
Some of the things I've seen people complain about too, that's not just like a NASCAR on Fox thing. That's like a Fox corporate thing. Like the cartoons, for example, driver cartoons that everybody hates. That's a everywhere Fox. That's an NFL on Fox. That's a everybody thing. And so, like Connor said earlier, people are human. There's always a human element. And so maybe, people are absolutely trying. I don't even think oh, well, I think they're trying. I know they're trying. I just think that the things that they are trying aren't speaking, like Caleb said, to race fans, and some of their company wide initiatives that they've tried to push as well. I don't think they're speaking to fans.
I think it also goes back to, when this was during COVID, right? And they were trying to draw in the non-traditional race fan or the non-race fan in general. And they've just never gotten out of that phase. Is we're still trying to cater to the non-race fan, when at this point, yeah, you're still trying to draw in those type of people. But let's be honest, the people that are watching now are race fans, have watched some sort of racing of any sorts, whether that's not NASCAR or it is.
And I completely agree.
I don't. I don't think they're still exclusively chasing that new fan. I also think so. If you're going to watch racing in the United States, aside from the Indianapolis 500, and you're just going to turn the TV on a random day and watch racing, the chances are you're going to watch NASCAR. It has the most fans in the country. It has the most ratings. It has the most races. The chances of you turning on a NASCAR product comparatively to anything else are so top heavy towards NASCAR that you're going to have new fans watching every week just by the virtue of probability, right? I don't think they're gearing the broadcast towards new people that haven't watched NASCAR before. That's not what seems to be happening to me. Now, as far as they're trying. Of course they're trying. There's somebody in those roles that have a vision of what they want it to be, and they're trying to get it to that. But however they're going about that is not at all working. And there could be a multitude of different reasons why. And I think a lot of that uncertainty in my answer comes with the TV deal. I just don't think that they're gearing the broadcast towards new fans. So that's why we have more commercials and we never watch racing.
But that's apparently.
I don't think Damon was saying that either. Sorry, but what were you saying?
Apparently, we don't have more commercials. They keep telling us that there's not more. So
and they're trying to turn out.
We feel like there's more, but for some reason there isn't. So that's
I think there if there is the same amount of commercials, truly, and that is the truth.
I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any stats to tell me that.
Yeah,
anywhere
Yeah, no.
close to being accurate. Every graphic I've seen has had more commercials than they had 3 years ago.
Oh, and the thing is too, like, okay, let's pretend that, yeah, they're right. There's just the same amount of commercials or less. You're timing them poorly. That's the ultimate. That's the sin there, because like,
Right.
I don't care if you have commercials, as long, like, obviously they're a necessity. This is a business. Everybody's got to make some money off of this to keep this thing going the way that we all like to see it go. But at the end of the day, if you're timing your commercials wrong, it doesn't matter if you only have 3 commercials in the entire broadcast. If you miss the important shit when you go to commercial, or the interesting stuff, the more compelling stories, whatever you want to call those, then you're not putting out your best possible product.
Right. And I think the biggest takeaway from this entire conversation is the fact that we just talked about an entire race, mentioned one driver, and the rest of our topics of discussion were on how many commercials the race had, because it was that bad.
It's miserable.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I don't think we're doing a bad job as a podcast. That's what happened. That's the amount of racing we saw today was not conducive to, having takes about it. And if Denny Hamlin hadn't spun out, they barely talked about the 3-stop versus 4-stop strategy that was going on. I had to send you guys a text to see what, like, I'm pretty sure Chase is trying to go 3-stop over 4 and everyone else is going to go 4. Is that what's going on here? I didn't know. How in the hell are you running a professional broadcast and that's not something you're talking about? That was like the storyline of the race at that point.
It also took them like 2 full minutes to figure out that Michael McDowell dropped like 1 million spots on pit road, and then go, oh yeah, he's like back in the teens now.
Yeah, it's so much like they just don't know what's going on in the race, and it's I feel like I've talked about it so much this year, but it's just so frustrating. Like, I've seen over the last couple of years people complain about the broadcast and blah blah blah, and I'm like, it's really not that bad. People are going crazy. It has been miserable this year to watch, and part of it too is, so I always watch streaming on my Xbox, and the Fox Sports app on the Xbox crashes, and I'm not exaggerating, at least 10 times a race.
That's just an indication that you've kept doing the same. Using the same product over and over, expecting a different result.
Well,
it's ridiculous. And here's the thing too: is it's not just like my Wi-Fi or my Xbox or whatever, because there's times that, like, me, Noah, Josh will all be sitting there, and all 3 of ours will freeze and crash at the same time. And it's very funny too, because like typically right at the end of stages it'll crash. Like it's
right when they go to commercial.
Right when they go to commercial, it'll crash. Like, and it is just the whole experience of watching NASCAR on Fox is just miserable.
Yeah, I agree. I think we hit that topic. The only other thing I want to talk about is, and we'll get off in 2 minutes if we can make this a 2-minute argument. But why the hell's the off week next weekend?
Father's Day.
I feel like
there's way better weekends. There's way better weekends to take off.
Mother's Day should be the off weekend.
No, you're in a TV rating series. You should want to race on every holiday. That's just how that works. That's just how that works. I would rather them take the week off the Knoxville Nationals, the week off of the World 100, and have NASCAR drivers that want to go there or see it. Oh, don't fucking laugh at that. No, get out of here. Seriously. We had a rain delay race to a Monday on Memorial Day, and it was the best ratings the race had in 5 years.
I understand, but you're just too predictable that I knew, like, those words were going to come out of your mouth right after that.
They really should. If we're going to talk about how dirt racing built NASCAR and this and that.
Does not care. But what falls on their weekend?
I don't care what they care about. Their broadcasts suck, Josh. Their opinion is irrelevant to me right now.
Like, you can't say it's a better weekend when it's going to go and support another series. Like,
I absolutely can, because you race on holidays because everyone's home.
Yes, I was going to say that.
What I'm going to tell you is the guys that are sitting in their air-conditioned offices on the fucking 28th floor at 001 NASCAR, like, they don't care about getting an off week to go,
Okay,
play
Caleb, who makes the series in NASCAR? Who makes it worthwhile? What's the most important aspect of NASCAR? It's the drivers. Hold on. No. Let me finish this. It's the drivers.
No, stop for a second. You're coming at me like you have
I'm
to
not trying to
understand.
come at you. You're good.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying they're the ones that don't care. You don't have to prove me differently.
No, I know. I'm trying. This is also a message to NASCAR and some people that might not know this. But so I watch every week at Knoxville in this little wheeling stand in the middle. The guy that has the microphone to the infield and I have become great friends. And that's always where I'm watching the race. And back in the day, a few years ago, and it still kind of happens. It just depends on who's there, what year. But Kendra Jacobs used to be the promoter at Knoxville, and she would tell people, like, here's the best spot to watch on the racetrack, and it's at the top of this little wheeling stand in the infield. So I walk up there, and there's people following me, and I open this gate up, and this guy's like, oh, hey, thanks, man. How are you doing, by the way? Ryan Newman. Behind him, this girl comes up. Behind him, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Behind him, Denny Hamlin. Like, there's just a lot of NASCAR drivers already at Knoxville for the Knoxville Nationals. It's just what happens. I think a lot of them would subscribe to not having to go out that weekend and fly back to NASCAR.
I mean, I get it, but
I think Kyle Larson, after winning the Kings Royal, would rather have celebrated than drive a NASCAR race and fly home that night. That's just me.
I'm sure there's reasons that we don't know for having this weekend be the off weekend. I can't. I mean, I don't know any good reasons. But
I mean, it's practically the middle of the season. I mean, it kind of makes sense.
right.
I think Father's Day personally would have been a perfect holiday to be racing on.
So if anybody wants to go check out, if you're in the Midwest for Father's Day, the ASA tour is going to be at the Milwaukee Mile on Father's Day. So be sure to.
Milwaukee's a really fun track too, man.
We're hoping to go later this year.
God, I love Milwaukee. But yeah, basically, we're glad Carson Macedo's okay, and the Fox broadcast sucked. That's your too long. Didn't listen to the last hour.
What's nice though is because coming Sunday we still get IndyCar. So
that's a positive. I do wish that NASCAR and IndyCar would not schedule each other at the same exact goddamn time every other week too.
Yeah, and they still do that with NBC, so I don't really know why that is. If they're both trying to find that same sweet spot of TV,
I think they're
maybe Sunday afternoons. There's like 2 bajillion people watching TV, and that's why we have to have every race then.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also just like they might be competing with each other. They're like, no, like we're competitors. I want people to watch my product over yours. I don't want us.
I don't think they're doing that. I really don't. I just don't.
I don't know. Like
to a point in general, yeah, but I don't think they want to be doing that with TV broadcasts.
While we're on the topic of discussion too, this weekend's going to be a prime opportunity because for a head-to-head ratings deal because IndyCar and F1 start at the exact same time.
Oh boy.
Wait, IndyCar and F1 start at the same time?
I think it's like an hour gap, but yeah.
All right, we got to promote the hell out of this IndyCar race, boys.
Yep.
All right, well, that looks to be our show. Thank you guys for listening. Someday I'm going to give Caleb the suck it sign because we'll get an off week during one of these big dirt races. Hopefully someday. It's a pipe dream, right?
No, this is your problem.
No, I'm just giving you shit. Like Caleb doesn't actually think that. Like
you attach
tongue in cheek. Don't. We're all good. We are all good.
I'm just telling you.
No, you're fine. I get what you're saying. And a lot of my wishes are logistically impossible. If that
we know
the phrasing there makes sense. Oh well, don't say it like that. It's not like I'm asking for a ramp at every NASCAR track. Maybe a few of them, though. It'd be cool. We have a ton of stuff coming up in the next week. I promise we will have a great guest Wednesday. Waiting to hear back from a couple of people, seeing if we can get some unique guys. But we will see what happens. We'll be back Wednesday night. Thank you for following along to our coverage all weekend, all over the place. And we will be back on Wednesday with the next episode. And as always, we're presented by the Karl Auto Group. Big shout out to them. Give them a shout out on social media. Do that. Buy those guys' shirts, sprint car fans especially. Even if you're not a sprint car fan, they're all, I think all their websites are on the World of Outlaws drivers tab page. So worldofoutlaws.com, you know how to get there. And appreciate your support for us and appreciate all your guys' support for racing in the United States. So hope you guys have a great weekend, and thank you once again for listening to the Always Race Day podcast presented by the Karl Auto Group.